How's it going, everyone? I've been talking a lot about the Game Awards. Everybody's been covering everything related to the Game Awards, and the second I saw the trailer for Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, immediately, you know the thought that was going into my head. Sure, there are a lot of people that are excited for this game to be in development. I'm happy for you. However, immediately, I think myself and a lot of other people, we all picked it up right away. This is a CG trailer. This game is clearly incredibly early on in development, and we are not going to play this game for a very, very long time. And I am here to talk a little bit about that trend in gaming where we see these games get revealed years and years and years in advance. And I get it. There's the aspect of, oh, they gotta do recruiting. Oh, they gotta get people excited, etc., etc. But this one, it, for me, is impossible to get excited for it. And sure, the idea of I might literally die before this game comes out, that might not be the case. You know, hopefully, God willing, I'll be around for a long time and I'll be playing these games for a long time and Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic will eventually come out. But we've seen this song and dance over and over again, and I am happy that over the course of recent years, we've seen the release of games that at some point I did have the feeling, hey, this game is probably so far out, could end up being vaporware. Then the games come out and they turn out to be really good. Stellar Blade, I had that feeling with. Black Myth Wukong, I had that feeling with. And guess what game got its release date announced at the Game Awards? Phantom Blade Zero. I very much had that vibe. I very much had that idea. But for all of the games that do come out, there are games like Star Wars 1313. There are games like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake. There are games like Star Wars The Eclipse. Guess what? Those are 3 Star Wars games that I just mentioned that have all gone through the same song and dance. And these games are revealed so far out that Knights of the Old Republic Remake is apparently still in development. Who knows? Do you want to know when that game was revealed? Like 4.5 years ago. And we have heard no official update on that game. We've gotten no new official content on that game. That game was revealed as a title that was promoted as a PlayStation 5 system seller for a lot of people. People bought a next-gen console with the idea that that game was going to come. And it's not only that, there's games like Perfect Dark, there's games like Fable, that's supposed to come out next year, but that game was announced back in 2020. Games that, in those cases, were literally used as promotional vehicles to sell you on a console, that they are still not out yet. These games are just revealed so far out. For what? Oh, here's a CG trailer. Like, why? Why would I get excited for this? Especially with the track record of Star Wars games. Now, to be fair, you have Casey Hudson at the helm of the game. There is a lot of things that make you excited. It's coming from a brand new studio, a studio that has just been formed, literally just been formed this year, with the game dev time and this being a big, ambitious, single-player narrative-driven action RPG, it is going to take a long time for this game to come out. How about what Jason Schreier said? Last night's biggest surprise was Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, led by Casey Hudson, who directed KOTOR and Anthem. You know, shout out to Anthem. Exciting news for lots of people, but Lucasfilm says that the studio was founded this year, which means that 2030 is an optimistic guess. Maybe it'll be a PlayStation 7 game. Like, that's where we are at, you guys. That is where we are at, and that is something that I do feel like needs to be discussed more. These game development times have exploded, and I get it. The games are more ambitious than ever. There's nothing that we can really do to shorten it down outside of, oh my god, AI is going to shorten down the game dev time, and that's a whole other can of worms entirely. But I do think that we should celebrate studios that are able to put out games fairly consistently at a high quality level. Like, shout out to Remedy. Remedy put out Alan Wake 2 in 2023, and they're coming back in 2026 with another game. And I get it, Control was probably in development for a while. It probably was in development before Alan Wake 2. I don't know the exact development cycle of that game, but what I'm saying is Remedy's output has been super consistent. I mean, they did put out FBC Firebreak. We like to pretend that didn't exist, but you know, they got Alan Wake 2 out in 2023, and now they've got another major single-player game out just 3 years later, or prepped to come out just 3 years later. In an era where so many games are taking 5 to 7 years and studios are taking 5 to 7 years, having Remedy put out quality titles, at least, you know, Control 2 does look great. Alan Wake 2 in 2023, Control in 2026, that's super exciting to me. if CD Projekt Red is actually able to drop the entire next Witcher trilogy, Witcher 4, 5, and 6, in the span of 6 years, so let's say Witcher 4 in 2027, 2028, and then 3 years after that, Witcher 5, 3 years after that, Witcher 6, shout out to them as well. That's their goal, and that is something that I think is worthwhile to talk about. Remember, with God of War, the Norse arc, one of the reasons that was said that game was only a 2-game arc was because there was so much game dev time tied to those games, and if they did another game, it would be 15 years of game dev time tied to the development of these games. And whenever a new trilogy of games are announced, guys, there is a legitimate thought that you might be dead before these games come out, and I say that with a little bit of humor, but that is an actual reality. Maybe a morbid reality to think of, but it is something to be aware of, especially, you know, thinking about a Final Fantasy VII Remake. Shout out to them, because it does seem like they have a level of consistency with the output, but 7 Remake was revealed in 2015. We finally got Part 1 in 2020, Part 2 in 2024, and hopefully Part 3 in 2027. 12 years from the announcement of the game to the trilogy actually being out, and I think that's a fairly big W in today's era, given, you know, 12 years beats out, let's say, 5 to 6 years for other games dev cycles. You know, it beats that out. Look at some of these studios like a Naughty Dog, benched for 7 years, and when I say benched, I mean no new game coming out. I get it, they're working on these live service games. Bend Studio, no new game since 2019 Days Gone. The earliest you're gonna see a new game from them is probably gonna be 2028 to 2030. A decade going by without a new game, and it's the thought process of these games getting so big, but at the same time, revealing these games in the case of Fate of the Old Republic, and I get the argument, oh, we gotta reveal these games to recruit new people, but it does feel like it's impossible to get excited about these games now when they're revealed this far out. You're leaning on, you know, it's Old Republic, it's Star Wars, people are inherently gonna get excited for it, but there is that contention now of being like, people are aware of what happened with Eclipse, people are aware of what happened with the KOTOR remake, and these games are revealed, and you're revealing them 5 years out. People are gonna be in literal different stages of their life when some of these games come out, which is insane to think about. Like, if you're a high school student right now, you're gonna be deep into college, maybe graduating college by the time Fate of the Old Republic comes out. That's a little insane to think about, and you know, it's not really anything we could do about it. Game dev times are gonna be the game dev times. You know, it's gonna take long, but if CDPR figures out to get their workflow to a point where they could put out Witcher 4, then 3 years later you get Witcher 5, 3 years later you get Witcher 6, man, that would be tremendous, and that's something I would love to see, because my arguing point is, yes, some of these games have gotten bigger, some of the games have gotten better, but for the most part, I would argue that the games were better in the PlayStation 3 era, and I bring that era up because that was the era where I started playing a ton of games. I look at a Rocksteady, 9 years in between Arkham Knight and Suicide Squad. That window of time, in that window of time, the entire Arkham trilogy came out. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. 9 years to get you guys Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Look at BioWare. BioWare back in the day, they were putting out the Mass Effect trilogy and Dragon Age. Are you telling me Veilguard and Anthem? No, they're nowhere near as close. Even Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog puts out a game once every 5 to 7 years now. Back in the PlayStation 3 era, 2007 for Uncharted 1, 2009 for Uncharted 2, 2011 for Uncharted 3, 2013 for Last of Us Part 1. I would say that those games, especially U2, U3, and Last of Us Part 1, most people would agree that those games are better than what Naughty Dog is putting out now. Like, I don't think that's too big of a stretch, even if Naughty Dog is heralded as one of the top studios. Sure, the games may have gotten graphically more impressive, but have they gotten better? Really ask yourself that. Have these games gotten better with the balloon dev time? Some of them have. Like, I look at a God of War and what Santa Monica has done with that, the extra dev time, those games getting bigger, sure, that's great, but a lot of the cases, man, it's like we're waiting so long for these games are revealed so far out, and are the games that much better? Ask yourself that. And ultimately, with a game like Fate of the Old Republic, you have to question at least a little bit, is this game actually ever gonna come out? And yeah, maybe the thought process of dying before a game comes out, that's a little bit morbid, but you know, it's not gonna be that far off. If a trilogy gets revealed and the game dev times continue to expand, I really don't think they can increase any much longer, but Let me know what you guys think. I know I'm rambling quite a lot, but it's something certainly to talk about when we go to these events and these showcases. It's almost impossible to get excited for some of these reveals. That's why I appreciated so many of the reveals. Control, boom, 2026. Tomb Raider, Atlantis, boom, 2026. Even at the very least, Catalyst, 2027. Okay, give me something to work with. Exodus, at least we know early 27. But the games that got revealed and then boom, 2026, that I love. I love to see that, and I definitely am not a big fan of, oh, here's this CG trailer for a game that's gonna be out in 2030, but that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.